everybody, and welcome to The Beacons Are Lit, a Lord of the Rings podcast. I'm the host, Mike Marback, and today I am joined by Stacey Lyons.
Hey.
Matt Guerin.
What's up?
And Kelly Conrad.
Howdy doody, folks.
Yes, the Fellowship has rejoined once again to discuss the Rings of Power for the final time, covering an original episode, at least for 2 years when it comes back. This one covering Season 1, Episode 8, the finale of Season 1, titled Alloyed. All right. Yes, and they're already shaking their heads. But before we get to those first impressions, which visually I just got, I can see they didn't like it. But we shall discuss it in any case. We have been lighting the beacons. We've been sending the ravens, asking for emails, people to let us know that they are out there and they are listening and they enjoy what we do. And barely anyone has. But
we persevere, we push through, we will be heard.
Yeah. It is a waiting game. It's a long game, and we will catch on. So we've been letting people know that if they do this, they will win a Lord of the Rings related shirt. And the shirt that we picked was the one that was promoted by all 4 of the main hobbits. And that is the one showing the different ears of Middle Earth. And we have a winner.
I hope it's me.
Of the 2 people that I remembered. And it was a 50-50 chance. And Emily
good
R.
odds.
Emily R., the one who's rated and reviewed on Spotify, and then also emailed us a couple times, has been granted that shirt.
Congratulations, Julie.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Emily R.
And to you, Emily R.,
Emily.
we give the Hobbit ear shirt. May it be a covering to you in all weathers. All right.
When all other weathers go out.
Yeah, when all other clothes are dirty. All right. So
thank you, Emily.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening, because we know there are more people. I see the download numbers. I don't check them often, but I know that it does tick up. So there are people listening. Whether or not they repeat listening is another matter.
And know that we like you too, because I listen to many podcasts and never once have I commented, called, left a review. I get it. I understand. But help us out every now and then when we only get reviews. So
it's true. I always am like, they don't want to hear from me. They're fine. And now I'm doing it and I'm like, could use a friend right now.
Yeah. So Emily R., we already have your email. So reply back and give me an address to which I can send this gift. Thank you once again. So first impressions of Season 1, Episode 8, Alloyed. I'm going to go first because I've seen all your head shakes. I don't know if
I shook my head, actually.
Everyone shook heads.
I definitely shook my head, but that was, to be fair, the first time I heard the finale title.
Yeah, I forgot.
Which is a stupid fucking name for a title.
Hey, first impressions. Overall, I enjoyed the episode. I think that it definitely sets things up for a season 2. It does make the whole season up to this point feel very table setting. I felt like even with this episode, they needed 4 more episodes in this first season for me to truly enjoy and explore and expand on different characters. But overall, I enjoyed the episode, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in this episode and the wrap up. And we're talking about the season as a whole. Kelly, where are you at?
Kind of like with the most of this season, like 50-50. I'm having a hard time finding a word to describe it, but I'm just going to use cool for now. It was cool to finally get some answers. I think still a little murky in some regards, but that felt like a sense of relief. I thought that because there was so much that this episode needed to cover, the pacing was decent, and I was pretty interested in it, I guess you could say. But again, like a lot of the other episodes, just very, very questionable. I find myself having a lot of questions and just feeling very conflicted and confused.
Sure.
And I did firmly dislike the Fiona Apple song. I thought that was pretty awkward. I guess I guess I was expecting. What was that, Matt?
And
Like Spotify is
in the
playing there. I think
darkness, find them.
It sounds like you're singing a church hymn of sorts.
It was churchy.
I was expecting an original song, not like the most famous text from the book. I just feel like not all
Something
verse.
nice and poppy.
Truly anything that wasn't that.
Give it to Carly Rae Jepsen is all I'm gonna say, because it would have been so much better.
She would have done something with it. But yes, I don't want to take up too much time with first impressions, but that's where mine lie.
Mine lie.
Me, Mike, I told you I just finished this for the first time, like just
it's coming in hot.
I'm still processing it. I don't know. I might have hated it. I might have liked some of it. I don't know. We're gonna find out as we talk through this, because I have a lot of confused feelings. So,
Sure. Yeah.
You might not want mine, because I've been talking the whole season about how I actually was a Harbrand in his own right fan, and the second he was revealed on Sauron, I was gonna have some things to say. So I've got some things to say. I also agree that I hated the Fiona Apple song, and I felt like this episode, I think I liked it while I was watching it, and now that it's been like 2 weeks or however long it's been, I like it a lot less. Like, time has not been a friend for me to this episode. Kind. I just felt like it kind of mirrored the season where I felt like it really struggled with a lack of pacing. Like, we finally got a lot of interesting things crammed into one episode. We got like the Rings of Power for 4 minutes, where we got Galadriel's quest on a boat for 90 minutes. We had a 12-minute goodbye for Nori, like she's coming back.
Sweet Lord.
It was just really, there were times where I was like, this is actually hard to watch because I'm getting in and out of some of these scenes. I don't know. So I have some thoughts on it, but I think if we had podcasted a week ago, I would have been kinder.
Yeah. And to that point, apologies to our many listeners that we are a week late with this. I'm not going to make up an excuse. I didn't want to do it that day. I didn't want to do it that day. I had a bad day. Yeah, so we are here now discussing, and unfortunately for the Rings of Power, that means that time has taken its toll on some opinions. But I agree with a lot of what's been said here. It was kind of at times, some things did go on too long here and there. It was nice to get some answers to some things, while at the same time leaving things open to, like, starting with the Harfoots here. I was saying, so first of all, Halbrand, Sauron, done. Okay, that's now fact. He is Sauron. They were building up to it fairly clearly to a lot of people for the entirety of the season. Whereas I was in the boat like, nah, I think your dark horse candidate is going to be the stranger. And it seems like they were kind of trying to make that a fake out, which they did. Literally made it a fake out within this episode, where we come to serve you, Lord Sauron, and yeah. So
yeah, that was the cold open, right? Yeah,
that was the cold open.
I was like, huh. My initial reaction was like, huh, wow, okay. You know what? I'm wrong a lot. Sometimes it's fun to be wrong. I'm like, I was really calling this to be Gandalf. I was like, everybody, we should just say he's Gandalf the first episode.
Yeah, remember when we were like, can we just call him Gandalf?
And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. And then as the like opening credits kept going on, I was like thinking about like, okay, the implications of all that. I was like,
Yeah.
this doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
I think that I would have been 100% on, clearly, I would have been 100% on board with them making this character Sauron for the reasons that I kind of theorized, is that it's his return to Earth. It's been a very, very long time. He's forgetting who he is. And they kind of played a lot of that stuff out as I talked about it, which I thought was cool, but not in the way that I thought it was. So to make it just Halbrand, and in the way that they did it too, like they did have all the things there. Like they were fairly patient and fairly kind of slow with the little things that hints at things. But then they got into this episode, and I'm already skipping ahead to the other thing. But he gets there, he's already up and moving around, and he's like, you know, rubbing his hands together, like, oh,
So show me your
Galadriel here. Yeah.
The elves are like peeling off like a fake spirit Halloween wound from his belly, and they're like, this is beyond elvish medicine. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, are you licking your blood? Yeah, it's corn syrup. Yeah, so the fake out here, and then kind of training him, like, to think for a minute I was like, how would they mistake him? And then of course they're the same species. They're both Maiar, Sauron and Gandalf, or the wizards, I should say. And I guess they have a similar energy. And that's what the Sauronets were following this throughout this time, is they're just following the energy. It was like, we don't know what he looks like. We just know his smell. We just know his scent.
Yeah.
Going off of vibes.
Yeah. Can we get a photo with a guy? No. You three, you just go find him. Yeah, it's kind of funny. And that was most of this storyline, is them training him, the Harfoots going to find him, getting into trouble, him then saving them. A couple fairly clear, direct references to Gandalf with the shadow line there. From shadow you came, and from shadow you will return, kind of thing. So kind of changing some Balrog lines. And there was also the nose. When in doubt, always follow your nose. So
and the classic Gandalf line, I am good.
I am good. Yeah. I am not peril.
I think I audibly booed at that line. I'm sorry. I think I felt the way about that line that Kelly felt about
at the screen.
The way Kelly felt about Southlands turning into Mordor is how I think I felt about that line.
That
Mordor. Yeah. I thought it was super weird that they go through those motions, and it's still at the end of the season, they're not prepared to say which wizard this is, if not Gandalf.
It's definitely Gandalf.
Yeah.
It's definitely Gandalf.
Why not say it then?
They did with the nose line.
Yeah, I guess it's like not his name yet, he goes by so many names.
And it does explain, it does explain why Gandalf has such a fondness for the hobbits, where none of the others do. It explains why Sauron doesn't really know about the hobbits. I mean, if that was truly Sauron in Lord of the Rings, he would have been more aware that the hobbits existed.
Yeah. So I 100% agree that this is most likely Gandalf. What I don't understand is why you would be so clever about this being Gandalf by dropping those lines and those moments, and not specifically saying like Mithrandir or any of his other names in some way, shape, or form. Whereas we go back to Southlands, Mordor, and be so explicit with something like that.
Yeah, I don't know either, Mike. I don't know either why the show is so inconsistent.
Those
are some great points.
It's really bad, and there's no true artistic direction in this series. Everybody's kind of just making decisions haphazardly.
Yeah, and they also shouldn't have had that text on the screen, and then it would have been as equally as enigmatic, I guess. But no.
Honestly, no, they should have done the text on the screen and then when Gandalf is revealed to be Gandalf, it should have shown up in the lower third.
The stranger fade out. Gandalf.
And when Halbrand reveals himself to go by many names, just pop up Halbrand. Consistent direction is what we need.
That actually might have been more forgivable. Like
Yeah.
I would have loved it. I would have been like, this show's batshit. I hate it, but I'm loving it. You know?
Yeah.
It's just so inconsistent with the information that they choose to reveal and the information that they choose to withhold.
Yeah.
Is like, I think, just more times than not a miss versus a hit.
And why are they talking about any kind of name for him? Like as his friends, like, what are we going to call you? Like none of those, nothing.
I guess the Nori goes like, they called you Istar. Is that like your name?
In
like
this one, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess you could call me wizard.
Yeah. In your tongue, it means wise one.
It's
also,
Mithrandir.
wizard. Yeah.
Also, he speaks so well and so much like Gandalf
Suddenly.
at the end of the episode, right?
I said that too.
I was that fight with the 3 bad people, and then after that, he's like, well read,
speaking,
well spoken.
Yeah. That I feel like was in the make him remember sort of moment, and it was just kind of resetting like what was going on up here, and just kind of unscrambling, because he was clearly like didn't know what anything that was really going on, didn't know how to use his powers, didn't know how to really do anything, and it was just kind of like a hard reset on his brain.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So they held down the power button, the volume down button.
Mm-hmm.
They got him cooking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unplugged him, plugged him back in. Blew in the cartridge. Yeah. And now he's going to Rune, which is where the baddies wanted him to go in the first place. They wanted to take him there where he needed to learn to use his powers. So he did some. The fight was pretty cool, I thought, and the way that they did the otherworldly, almost Nazgul sort of stuff, I thought that was cool. The way that they just turned into butterflies and drift away, I thought was pretty. It was cool, but
you think those were butterflies, or do you think they were moths?
I thought they were moths because it's like Gandalf talks to moths.
Yeah,
that's right. He talks to moths, and they looked fuzzier than butterflies.
Okay.
I just want to get the representation on these bugs. Right?
Yes, moths. I thought it was cool. Definitely reminiscent of the Saruman fight with the
floating staffs and floating around and getting spun around and flying into walls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Again, like I said before, like it's tough when the enemy is so powerful. Like I get we're just kind of highlighting how powerful Gandalf is, but like there's just no way 4 Harfoots would have survived that long against these people. And I get like that they did, and that's fine. They were just so strong, like they could have done anything. But yeah, it was cool, and I just love Gandalf. I love watching Gandalf do his thing, so can't be mad at seeing it start here.
Yeah, they were tossing those rocks like Merry and Pippin. Mm-hmm. It was working for them. The thing I found surprising
got a little.
Oh yeah, sad.
A little stabby.
Yeah,
stab.
More like stabic.
Stabic, sad sack. Yeah, what I found surprising is that the wizard staff worked for anyone. Like one of the first spells I would cast is like fingerprint ID or something like that. It only works for me.
Yeah.
Might avoid some of those.
Technology.
They could have done a little scene that's like type in your name and have him type like Mithrin.
But Saruman.
There we go.
Saruman doubles up. He goes double staffs. So staffs can work for anybody.
Someone remind me, in Harry Potter, were wands transferable?
No,
they wouldn't work as well. You could use another wand, but they wouldn't obey you because those wands were specifically picked for people, and sometimes the wand picks you. Mm-hmm. So
I wonder if that's a little how the staffs are. Maybe it's not like as maybe that staff was meant for Gandalf, so it was more powerful for him than it was for the cult. I don't know.
Kind of sucks that he
transitive property in here.
That his spell worked on the staff itself too. It's like one use, and it's done because that also drifted away.
Oh, did it?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to get himself a new staff. When he was just standing there waiting for so long for Nori to say their goodbyes, we did like 3 cutbacks to him just standing by the tree. I thought that was very funny and very much undercut like the emotional buy-in they were trying to get with Nori's goodbye.
Yeah, I was like, he doesn't know she's coming. He might just leave, like, what if he just walks away?
No.
I was very surprised at how annoyed I got at that goodbye. That was like one of the most painful goodbyes. I'm like, bitch, go.
I mean,
I'm not sure I care to see this.
What episode number was this?
8.
8? And let's say that's a third of the episode because it felt like it. So 0.33 times 8. So that was like a solid percentage of the show. That was like almost 5% of the show.
You did the math to come up with a solid percentage.
I started multiplying, and then I realized I have no idea how percentages work.
You can't be bothered to do math right now. We're not.
I don't know math, but it felt like. Okay. I feel like that was 5% of the show.
It felt like 5% of the show.
Saying goodbye.
Yeah, at least 5. Solid 5.
It was a lot. It didn't earn it at all. Like, it just for as much time as we maybe have spent with these Harfoots, and maybe it's just the fact that I'm seeing it with week breaks in between and 2-week breaks in between sometimes, but like the emotional connection did not land. I'm like I like them as friends, but this moment is not hitting at all.
Well, it's also inconsistent because it's like, wait a minute, are her parents really just suddenly cool with her venturing off into the unknown with this stranger after seeing what they saw? And like their hard, very strict code of conduct? It's like consistency, people.
She's a child, right? Like I don't know.
She's like a young,
like 60.
60, yeah. So like she's a child.
I did get emotional when she was saying goodbye to her dad.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't help but like well up. But then like she said goodbye to everyone, and I stopped feeling emotional. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It started fine, and then it continued and got real bad.
And I thought Poppy was gonna change her mind and go, like a Samwise Gamgee kind of moment, and then she stayed, and I was like, well, then why did we get several goodbyes with Poppy if she's not gonna go? I don't know.
Yeah. And I promise you, I'm not saying this just to play the other side here, because I do think that this definitely went on too long. But I do feel that these goodbyes were earned. They did hit with me. I did kind of like get a little emotional with the goodbye with her dad and her mom, and Poppy coming to finally say goodbye. But I do feel that it did drag on, and I thought that the moments with the stranger and cutting back to him, not knowing if she's coming and still waiting there, like, well, maybe if I stand here long enough, somebody will come with me because I'm scared.
Can we haven't brought up the weird handshake that we've never seen. I think Nori, does like this handshake with her. I think it's with her dad. Did we ever see that before? Had we established that was something they did?
New to me, but I was
maybe,
like, I guess I something.
Yeah, maybe in like the first episode, but we definitely didn't see it.
And so I was just like, what is that?
I didn't see it in this episode.
It reminded me of the handshake on Community, with Danny Pudi and Donald Glover. I was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was so dumb.
I didn't mind it. I just, if they're going to use it throughout the show.
Well, that's why it's dumb to me. Is like, oh, we're suddenly introducing this new element that we've never seen before, and I'm supposed to feel some sort of way about it.
They could have just in the bottom of the screen while this was happening,
new handshake.
Hello, and then faded out and wrote goodbye.
I would love use of the text fade. I'm here for that.
Either give us all or none.
Yeah.
All right. So Sadik bit the dust, got his last look at a sunrise, and now they have their new leader, who can't read a map, so that's great. Yeah, but it looked like Poppy was angling, looking a little happy at that suggestion that she lead them. So that looks like where maybe things are going. And
Are we gonna follow them now that Nori's not there? Is my question.
I don't.
Like I doubt it. It
why
felt
we
like that
would.
was our goodbye to the
Here's
Harfoots
the thing,
too.
they're gonna come back in like
They'll
season
be back.
Or
Yeah.
They'll be back for sure, but I don't know that they should. Why? I don't see any reason at this point.
I hope her weird pigtail dreads don't come back. I found them distracting.
Oh, in front of Nori's face.
On besetting her neck, just two
Oh.
big
Poppies.
dreads.
Poppies.
Yeah. Did I
Oh,
say-
poppies.
Yeah.
And headed
I
to
hope
Rune
I
are
hope
the
they're
straight
longer.
That might be better. One or the other.
headed to Rune are the stranger and Nori, where he's going, I guess, to train and find out a little bit more about. He's going to find out what his name is. I'm guessing that's what, where he's going to have that cheers moment. He's going to walk into Rune and everybody goes, Gandalf!
Hey,
Yeah.
That's what they used to call me.
yeah. Gandalf. I am Gandalf the Stranger. So anything more on the Harfoots, we could definitely bring up some more things when we're talking about other stuff or in winners and losers. So we'll move ahead to let's go to Numenor. Numenor,
Stop off.
tomb for the king Pharazôn. That's his name, right?
Sure.
King is the king?
Yeah.
I thought Pharazôn was
Oh,
Yeah,
the king's hand. Yeah.
the merchant. Is that
Oh,
The one-
beard and eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah, the one with like the very bouffant hairstyle and the white
Kevin's
streak.
dad?
Oh, right. Kevin's dad.
Kevin's
Yes.
Who's that bouffant looking bitch? What's his name? Pharazôn.
Pharazôn.
Yeah. So
he has a fresh blow dry every episode.
He is trying to.
He's in hair and makeup at 5 a.m.
Really?
The king is near death, and he is tasking arts people to draw the king, capture his visage, as he's saying. And we're going to build him we're going to build a tomb for the king that's real big and is probably a problem.
And we're gonna fly the black flag.
Yeah. And
When he does.
Earion is one of the people that is chosen to do this.
Is this the first time we've found out what her skill was?
Yeah, I think so.
They kept saying like, I got into the guild. She's in the guild. She's an apprentice in the guild. And
She can
I thought
draw.
she was like an architect or like a builder.
No, she can draw.
She's an artist.
She's a
Yeah.
drawer.
She's
That
a
changes
drawer,
it.
and she likes to
Drawer.
do drawings.
Drawings. My name is Arian. And I like to do drawings. So stupid.
Yeah.
When did we set my question is, did we ever set up that Pharazôn gave a shit about getting the king's portrait done? Because that or was that just like, we're gonna do this now?
This is the arts episode, Matt. Every episode has a theme, and this one is creation.
This seems like a thing that would have been done earlier on in his career, because they weren't drawing him as he is; they were drawing him
No.
as he was.
We're going to capture him on his deathbed. That's how we want to
We're
remember
literally-
our kings.
Bothering this dying man by being like, could you just like a little into the light?
Yeah. And then there's like 10 people there, and they're like, each of you gets an hour. So just sit there next to this dying king. And he's just sleeping. Like, how are you going to do this?
He's
This is not a good
dying.
ask. Yeah. It's terrible. Maybe get a nurse by his side, not an artist. Terrible. So, yeah.
Art
y'all gotta-
heals, Mike.
If
Y'all
I'm
gotta
ever
draw
on
me.
my deathbed and one of you starts trying to fucking draw me, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'll
just
be
die out of
upset.
spite. Yeah.
I'll just Photoshop an old photo.
Thank you.
And you
I
look like
appreciate
death.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, including Arian. She's in there. She's sitting there trying to draw him. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, she's
for,
not
you know,
bad.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good
charcoal.
visage.
Yeah.
As far as visages go, and the king grabs her and talks about like, you got to check this out. You got to see what I've been looking at. Made me fucking nuts. So she goes there, and she goes to his little museum, and the Palantir is there, and we see it in its cloak, and then it cuts away, and we never see her again.
No,
The
it's
next scene
never
we-
addressed again.
We're gonna see it again in 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
My problem with the scene is she screams for help for the dying king of Numenor, and not a soul comes.
Nobody comes.
Nobody comes.
There's no reason that a nurse shouldn't have been in that room.
No. Or a security guard immediately outside it.
Drawing a portrait. There could be any number of people looking out for the well-being of the king.
And he says that I look too long and it fucked me up.
Yeah.
Busted my brain, bro.
Dude, you want to touch that Palantir, dude, but you only want to do like a recreational dose, okay? You don't want to go too high, too fast, dude. I know a guy. It's
respect the Palantir, guys.
Yeah. You just want to give it a little, a little power button kind of press, not a long press, more just a push button kind of thing. You're gonna get a whole vision.
You want to go so light. Like lighter than you'd expect, because it only takes a little bit to take you a long way.
And give it a second. Don't think that it's not kicking in. It's gonna kick in.
It's gonna kick in. Be patient.
Yeah, could be a delayed hit. And then we have the Queen and Elendil below deck, and she's learning the steps, counting steps, and he's helping her out. Yeah.
They are trauma bonding in this scene.
Yeah. She says, hey, I know you've been through it, and if you want, you can take a leave of absence. I would totally understand. He more or less says in a lot of words, I'm good. He said, and she said, okay, why? Well, because Elendil does not simply just mean one who loves the stars. Call back to a previous episode where she calls him out and says that it also means friend of elves. So he was saying, I could have not brought her on a boat. I could have not taken her to Numenor. I could have not followed her to Middle Earth, but I did all that because my name also means friend of the elves. And they're talking about the faith, the old ways. And that's what they're, one of the other things in addition to the trauma is that they are bonding over, because they are followers of the old Numenorian ways, which was close to the elves.
I forgot what the rest of it meant. I wish they reminded me. But,
Same.
I like that. I like it. I still like it. And I still like that guy. I'm just like,
love Elendil.
Great.
Probably one of my number ones on this whole show.
Yeah, I agree. But I like that they didn't spell it out and trusted the audience to remember or be like, okay, well,
I wish they had written Lover of Stars at the bottom and it faded into Friend of Elves, and then I would have caught on faster.
Because again, the consistency in which they show trust in their audience is wild.
I knew that I needed to remember what it was, and I didn't remember it, but it still didn't really take away from the scene for me. I understood the gist of what he was saying, and we have to pay a price and see what happens later is going to be for the good of all of our people, even if it's like a personal cost. I got that whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like the ship,
which is very Frodo-esque, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really like that exchange. So yeah, I liked the themes that played out in that one. This was one of the highlights of the episode for me, I guess.
Yeah. The ship that they are in pulls back into port in Numenor, and there are now a lot more ships. Which leads me to believe that Earion did look into that Palantir and saw the destruction of Numenor, and Pharazôn was like, oh shit, we gotta build a whole bunch of ships.
I thought it was just because the king was dead, and they were like, we gotta come back and have a funeral.
That's what I thought.
Same.
I don't get that.
Because he said, when the king dies, we're going to hang the black flag. They pull into the harbor, and she's like, what do you see? Why are you done talking? And he looks up, and it's all the black flags, and now he has to tell her that her father's dead. So I just figured they all came home because the king died, and they all had to fly the black flag.
Oh, everybody from all of all the ships that were out.
I felt like, all the Numenorian ships had to come for this big death thing. You know how when the queen died, everyone had to
How do they call back to port?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
They send boats out and they say the king's dead. You gotta come back and change your flags. It's like how we do. These old royal places are very big on procedure.
Yeah. I mean, I can see
The
them
queen's
changing the
funeral
flags.
lasted like 3 weeks.
Maybe they just have like a big bell or like a big gong that they hit.
They released a bunch of black doves.
They have a death bell.
I think it's gonna be both, right? Though, because I feel like
it could be both.
Up,
yeah,
I feel like they are setting up that like we need to restore the old ways or whatever she saw or whatever the king told her. So it's like, all right, the king's dead now. Everybody come back home, and also we're gonna rule by martial law probably and be.
We're gonna redecorate your ships, and
and we're getting flooded. Flood's coming.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even notice that the flags were black.
Yeah, and it was like a cool thing, and it was like a throwaway line, and that was what was frustrating because Walker didn't catch it either when we were watching. And the second when Farazan was like telling these people it was like in his meeting where he was talking about drawing the king. One of the first things he said was something about changing the black flags upon his death, and then they just did this. And I was like, this is like a huge deal.
I think it's easy to like myths though, because I think some of these wide shots of just these cities or whatever kind of look the same. Like we cut to like the elf place, Celebrimbor's like lab, and I thought we were still supposed to be in Numenor for a second.
Oh, same.
They all kind of like look like samey, and it's hard to know what to pay attention to because they're just CG pretty looking things or whatever. So I think it's easy to miss or misinterpret where we are and stuff because it happens.
Totally agree.
I didn't catch the flags in the harbor being black. I think one of the things that also would have helped is when they left, they were like the only ships. So them being a whole bunch of ships in there, like have a bunch of those ships in the harbor also, and have us see what they more normally look like, all those ships in the harbor. I still think that there is some Palantir. I guess I just don't want that to be it. And I'm finding my own connections
you're rewriting the show to make it better, which is fine.
Yeah, the black flags.
It's a coping mechanism, Mike.
I think it could be both.
Yeah. The black flags in your defense, Mike, were very skinny. They're very skinny flags. Hard to see.
And we all
more
know
like ribbons.
Flags.
Yeah, you gotta have a fat flag. You're used to those big old American flags.
Big old fat flags.
They look like shadows on those building details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why she was like freaking out, and that's why it was kind of a sad moment.
So then we go to Earion.
Really the land of days, Seth.
All right, we're going to Earion. Oh,
we're going to Earion, and this is pretty much it. So this is where they arrive on horseback. He gets his elvish medicine, and he's up within seemingly hours.
He rode with a life-threatening wound for like a week
that Bronwyn couldn't fix, even though they had just saved her life by pouring seeds in
It's all a ploy. He's Sauron. He's faking it so he can get to Celebrimbor.
We know that, 100%. But I just don't know how he tricked everyone into being like, we can't even touch this wound.
He's a trickster. He's that devilish wizard. Oh,
he's a trickster, and he's gone too far.
As he know it don't matter anyway.
Yeah. And then he pops into the lab like, this lab is so great. It is one of the best labs I've ever seen. I've heard all about this lab and its maker, and he's fantastic. The guy who trained me, one of the best. Couldn't even touch this guy, Celebrimbor. And is he around? As a matter of fact, he is.
Celebrimbor is.
Are you telling me?
Crying. He's like, someone knows. Someone knows.
Yeah, he's doing the thing where you hold up one hand and says stop, but then your other hand is like, come on, more.
Keep going. Stop. Keep going.
And then he just keeps throwing in these little hints at things. He's like, well, hear me out. What if there was some sort of alloy that could enhance the properties of the other metal? And he's like, enhance. And then it was like watching House, when someone mentioned something in House and he's like, oh my God. And it's like this eureka moment. And it was such simple stuff for Celebrimbor.
Isn't Celebrimbor supposed to be one of the greatest myths of all time?
Yeah, and he couldn't think of doing the other thing that a smith.
When they brought it, when I said if they're just going to drop this in the puddle and it's gonna sink in and make it, I said out loud, I was like, I think I'm gonna be done with the show. And then all of a sudden they're like, blunk.
Blop.
Yeah. To be fair, the blop I thought was really cool, making it look like the eye, the great eye, all-seeing eye of Sauron. I thought that was really cool.
I was stunned, speechless. That was what was happening.
But I thought that there was going to be some elven magic, some chanting, something, anything to kind of do this thing. And I still, for the life of me, I still don't understand what it's supposed to do.
They made what should have been really interesting and cool, like how elves make these magical rings look tedious and kind of like, I mean, there were some like nice visuals, but overall, like they approached it very like it was
like
just
bumbling, kind of like the elves couldn't get it right, and Sauron had to step in and
needs these
call it a gift.
Simple suggestions.
Stop it.
I was like, that would be like the second thing he tries.
At one point,
that would be the first thing I tried. If we have like 4 days to get this right, I'd be like, let's just drop it in and see what happens.
And then like there were no spells. It was just a cauldron. It was just hot metal. Drop the thing in, and anybody can do this, I guess. Like it didn't seem that interesting.
No, but you need really good gold, Matt. You need really, really good gold.
I thought she was gonna have to go to Valinor. I was like, oh wait, they're just using her dagger. I was like, oh, here she goes. Season 2, she's out at sea again. Go back to Valinor. Thank God that was not the case. But
yeah. At one point there was
I couldn't get past how stupid they made Celebrimbor. Like it really lowers Celebrimbor's genius, the level of help that he needed on this from this made up fictional character for the TV show. Like that's what sucks about it. Is like, they wrote this in, like they fucked with Celebrimbor just being like a mad genius for this.
And you know what? Like, we have been following Elrond. I'm jumping ahead a teeny bit. We've been following Elrond this whole season. I'm so happy he got a ring. Galadriel, I can see why she got one. I'm cool with it. Celebrimbor, I'm like, this payoff makes me not care about this at all, this third ring. And I think it's just because the only time we've ever seen him, he sounds like a total idiot.
Yeah, there was literally the one moment that made me think of House, where they're talking. It was right after there's an actual explosion, like they're just bubbling around. It's like Merry and Pippin messing with the fireworks.
Yeah, that's when I thought we were still in Numenor. Yeah,
and they have that little explosion, and then they're like, you know what? Maybe we're just pushing ourselves too hard. And then it was like, pushing ourselves too hard. And Halbrand's like, what if you just tried like slowing down? Maybe we're just going too fast. And Celebrimbor's like, maybe it needs to be like coaxed. So it wasn't as cool as I was hoping it would be. I thought the rings themselves looked cool. I did like the Eye of Sauron in there.
I couldn't believe that we were like focusing on the rings for as long as we did. Like once they were finally complete, there was like it was like a Kay's Jewel ad. Like we were just on there for like so long. And I was like, all I'm thinking of while they're doing this is, this show is called The Rings of Power. Here's the Rings of Power.
Here's 3 of them.
I wanted more Rings of Power. In this whole first season, I would have loved way more Rings of Power. They just tried to jam it into the last episode. I would have liked that spread out.
I hear season 2 has 50% more Rings of Power.
Just more rings. Give me more rings. Give me more power. I want more rings.
And I have to make them, so you're gonna get more rings, I guess.
Yeah.
I want less boats and more rings.
And Gil-galad wasn't on board with any of this. He had to be convinced by Elrond's like, please just give us a couple days.
Gil-galad was only he was supposed to get one ring to rule them all, right?
He was supposed to get a crown. This is where I'm like, I don't understand how this helps keep the elves alive, all of the elves, because it was supposed to be like this one crown for all of Middle Earth, and they're like, well, you'll wear it. And he's like, no, I won't. And yes, it should be circular so that the light bends in on itself or something. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Celebrimbor?
Yeah.
fuck you saying, dude? You don't make any goddamn sense.
The narrative,
No,
Queen's
we're
English.
leaving. I can't believe this.
the narrative surrounding the elves fading from the earth was so convoluted and had no basis in the reality of this show that it just I felt like we forgot about it by the end. Like, are we supposed to believe that Galadriel, Elrond, and Celebrimbor are keeping the elves alive? Is that it?
Guess.
You betcha.
That's insane.
What's
I mean-
so insane about that, Stacey?
Well, if you watch,
What do you not get?
It's like good radiation. It's like good radiation, right? Like if there's a radiated fucking nickel in your house, you're gonna die like in a couple years. But if it's like good radiation, like magic radiation, then everybody who's around it, like I guess, lives a decent. But they still have to go to Valinor, you know, this in Lord of the Rings. Like
Yeah.
they don't stay here forever. So like there's a
Right.
clock.
This sounds like a
I-
Beach Boys song.
I thought about this.
Good
as we're-
radiation.
Right?
I thought about this as we're talking, and I have my own explanation for how this works.
Okay.
And this
Okay,
is spoilers.
JR. Hit
Yeah.
me with it.
Here goes
This
Mike
is-
rewriting the show again.
Here is
Okay, the
spoilers.
pyroclastic flow.
It goes back to
Don't.
the pyroclastic flow. So in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in the final season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there is this scythe, which is a weapon. And contained within this weapon is the power of the Slayer. And there's all these potential Slayers out there, all these people that if Buffy were to die, one of them could then become the new Slayer. Follow me so far?
Is a scythe one of those things that the Grim Reaper uses? Okay.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
that.
I'm there with you.
Okay. So this scythe has this power. And they have Willow, who is a witch and one of those powerful witches around. So they hatch this plan to take all of these potential Slayers and make them Slayers. And the way in which they do this is to cast the spell, taking this scythe, all the power of the Slayer that is contained within this, and spreading it out to all of the potential Slayers. So they are all then at full Slayer power. So in my mind now, what those rings do is sort of the same thing. The only thing is that it was a cutscene in my mind where they cast a spell that then takes the power of the life-giving mithril contained within these rings and spread it to all of the elves. So that's how this works.
That's how it works. The
That's how it
key
works.
is in Buffy the
Vampire Slayer. Yeah.
Season 5, episode 47.
What they should have done, and
Season 7.
if I'm
Episode
rewriting the show,
22.
I would have just had them put the rings on, and in the bottom corner written "dying" and just faded it into
Living.
alive, a living.
Yeah. Yeah, or they
Living
put them-
/ spreading to all else.
And then I would have no complaints. about
Or
this.
they put them on and then you start hearing like wow, 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 wow. It's like
Yeah.
slowly building,
that.
glowing from them and then spreading
Yeah.
out like a sonic boom.
a little montage of elves being like, "Oh, I'm feeling better."
Yeah.
I feel
I had
very
a cold
awake.
and now it's gone. Hey, all
Gotta
the
stop.
leaves of my tree are fine.
Daddy, I can walk again.
God, elves bless us, everyone. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Iluvatar. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anything more within? Oh yeah, of course. The Galadriel, as Celebrimbor is talking, he's like, hey, he's like quoting Halbrand word for word, and she's looking like, wait a second, something's wrong here. This was his idea, and Celebrimbor was like, no, those are my words. This was
I
my
think it was
idea.
definitely me who said that. I'm pretty sure I'm the author of those quotes. I wrote that.
We
Yeah,
should
like
have had a
power
20-minute
flesh.
20-minute black and white cut of Celebrimbor just doing silent Charlie Chaplin comedy, because I think that he could have done it with how bumbling he was.
Yeah, that they definitely did a disservice to Celebrimbor through here. If you know anything about the books, even if you don't know anything about the books, he starts that scene talking about what a great craftsman Celebrimbor is, and then he's just like, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that?" And he's like, "Actually, no. I've just been kind of sitting here.
Mm.
I haven't tried
What's
anything."
gold again?
Metallurgy 101.
What is it? This forging you speak of?
Spell that
Um,
word for me.
Yeah. So then Galadriel, getting all sus, she gets one of her interns to look some stuff up, and even he's like, he clearly does not want to do this.
Oh no.
He's like when you go to McDonald's and ask for a milkshake, and they're like, it's broke. And are you sure it's, or even like Tommy boy, you sure it's closed with the kitchen? And he's like, let me check. Yep, it's closed. And he's like, no, I gotta tell you, Galadriel, the records in that period kind of like super thin. We're not gonna find it. Just go.
Go to the library yourself, Galadriel. I'm a little busy pacing.
Yeah, she's asking him to get into the microfiche.
Yeah. Which I would have loved that cutscene, just that guy going through some microfiche. That would have been nice.
I would have loved Galadriel going through old documents like that paralleled the way Gandalf was going through documents. Like if we're gonna like echo the show a little bit and bring like little pieces here and there, and like I'm fine with that, but like do it for the cool moments, you know?
But also
have her smoking a pipe and going through.
She was otherwise, I guess, trying to slow down progress by being like, maybe we call it a day. Like that's what she was doing instead of looking for the evidence herself.
Halbrand, every time he turns around, she's looking at Celebrimbor and she's like, cut it. He turns back around and she's like,
yeah.
This is all physical comedy. You can't see me.
How'd you feel about the confrontation with when she does find that information out and she confronts him about that king died thousands of years ago? That line is broken. And he's like, well, you know, I kind of told you the truth. I said that I found this on a dead guy. I said that I didn't want to go. And he kind of lays it all out for her. And she's like, yeah, well, we fought against the same enemy, my enemy and yours, Zadar. How he didn't necessarily lead her to do any of those things. And a lot of it was on her.
There's a little film, I don't know if you guys have seen it, The Sixth Sense, where I don't want to spoil anything, but the end really gets it right in a sense, like if you've never seen it before. And the reveals that come visually in that movie reveal things to you that you wouldn't think twice about. Everything Sauron reveals to Galadriel are all things that we've all thought multiple times, twice, 3 times over, of how suspicious they were. And so when his reveal is like, yeah, you didn't ask me questions about this, and basically you were the one doing that the whole time, I was just like, yeah, I know. Like, why the fuck didn't she ask these basic ass questions about his past, or like question his motives earlier? It was just because she was like, so it just really wasn't a satisfying reveal in the way that the show wanted it to be. But we also had the curse / blessing of being like, is this guy Sauron the whole time? Where that wasn't the case maybe for the movie 6.
I actually was good with the reveal itself. The way it played out, their conversations were so emotionally charged. I have been saying for the past 8 weeks now, I love their chemistry personally. And I thought that really shone through in this scene.
Eager to see them.
And I ship Halbrand and Galadriel, and I really loved him, like the proposals that he's giving to her. I like how it echoed her, what the crazy sea witch lady she becomes in the movie
with Frodo and the temptation.
Yeah, I thought it all made sense in terms of this conversation. My problem is, why in the hell we're doing this? Why are these showrunners making Sauron a character that we might feel any sort of complexity about? Because Sauron, in terms of Tolkien, is not a morally ambiguous character. He is evil. He is an evil character, and that is what Tolkien presents to us in everything that he does. All of his works are about goodness and badness, light and evil, unequivocally so. Why are we introducing concepts like, oh, Galadriel wants to genocide the orcs, let's feel bad about the orcs. Oh, Sauron, he does have a point here. He's just want to create order.
Just a misunderstood Dark Lord.
I just don't get why we're doing this. Like, this is so infuriating. Like, I don't see what the point is in doing this at all. I feel like it undermines the concepts of Tolkien, and it just feels wrong to me.
Yeah, I was all right with it. But I get that 100%. But within the context of the show, if you don't know anything else, I think it's okay.
Here's the thing.
I like dream sequences were a little long-winded,
Sure.
which kind of disrupted the potency of that moment. I was kind of confused about like, is Galadriel dreaming? Did Sauron just like put like a spell or something on her? Like, obviously he was like controlling her in some way, but it was just like too long-winded. Yeah. On top of, I think this move will, I guess in my opinion, will be best. Like, I need to like watch the show again to see like, oh, do these steps actually amount to him being Sauron? Like, just having watched these episode once, it doesn't, but maybe if you watch it again, I don't know, but I think the rewatchability of this show is pretty low. But it's something I would be interested in doing just to see, like, does this line up in some kind of way?
I think that all those things, for me, as we've discussed through this podcast, I think that those signs are there for this to be the case. But with that said, it calls into question a lot of other stuff. Why he did certain things the way that he did them. How did he use a plantier to see certain things, to get himself into certain positions? Because it seems like he's just floating around, and expecting some things to happen. Or hoping. Well,
I guess that's what I'm referring to. Not necessarily that he is Sauron, but why Sauron would be doing the things that he did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like she finds in the opening episode, in the opening scene, she finds this huge castle, like of darkness in the snow, where orcs were being maybe tortured or whatever, with like maps. Like, it's like an evil genius lair. And then when we meet Sauron, he's floating on a raft. Like, it just doesn't add up as to like what he's up to. I also agree with Kelly, like those scenes were really long. I personally really liked the scene of her and her brother. It was just like very emotional, and I was into that. But then when they were bobbing unevenly on a raft, like, that was so inelegantly shot that it was like I was out of it again. Like, it was just in and out of this.
I think it was too long. I think I didn't like the way they were shot, especially the end of them being on the raft. It was shot in like very jarring close-ups with like looking into camera with like a slightly like too wide of like a lens, so their faces are kind of warped a little bit, like the slightest amount. And that was strange. But I did like I did like his propositions for her, and like it kind of made sense, and it was cooler. Like, I'm glad it wasn't just like a sword fight or something. And that I just think it could have been more interesting. Like, we're going into Mind Land, like, be more intense and be more like, it just, like Kelly said, it just kind of felt long and drawn out. Like that's a moment, that's a sequence where I should be feeling like tense and scared and like nervous, and I should be like, no, resist it, Galadriel, like, don't give in, or like, fuck you, Sauron, or something like that. And it just overall is just kind of like, okay. And then it like literally, like, the way we get out of it wasn't like interesting either. It's just like Galadriel like just gets like,
oh,
drowning.
She's been drowning this whole time. Yeah. Well, I think if it's like, if you're gonna have a sequence, there should be more than two of them, because two is a little awkward. It's like, I guess I wish instead of just being on a raft and talking about this, like, let's go there. Let's go to Mordor. Let's go to these places. Let's like see these things instead of like talking about them.
I wanted her to go with him, to be honest. By the end of that, I was like, Galadriel is making some strong points. Like, you could be a queen. Like,
yeah,
I was kind of like, yeah.
And I just don't like that I felt that way. Like, I just think that the inherent magnetism of Sauron is not a good thing.
I think you're just really, you just want to jump Sauron's bones, and now you feel guilty about it, and you're like,
and I'm blaming, it's everyone else's problem but mine.
A couple other quick thoughts on this. I think that they were,
bring me back to Christianity.
I think those scenes were long. I would have. It's interesting, Matt, you say that you're glad it wasn't sort of like just a fight or anything. They spent some sections of this show, this season, talking about and showing what a great warrior Galadriel was. And she comes face to face with Sauron here, and we get like she goes to do one thing, and he just stops her, and then we're in Mineland. Give me a couple more. Give me a couple more swings. Let us see how ineffective she is against Sauron, and then go into Mineland, and then make those scenes a little bit shorter.
Oh God, can we talk about where we end up with Halbrand yet? Because
1 second. So yes, we do have those rings. We do have Vilya, Narya, and Nenya. And I think it's Narya, right, that ends up with Gandalf. Nenya ends up with Galadriel, and Vilya ends up with Elrond. Is that correct? Great.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. What do I host? A Lord of the Rings podcast?
I keep on thinking you're saying Nenya.
Yeah,
Nenya
Nenya.
business.
Nenya.
Galadriel was the
we
prettiest.
didn't talk about Elrond's delivery of the word Galadriel when Galadriel comes back, because I was really looking forward to hearing.
Was it? How does he? Galadriel?
Galadriel.
Galadriel. I think it's like, Matt, how does he say it?
I can't do it. I was really counting on you guys to call it out, but it's just the sloppiest rolled R, just like a Galadriel.
Galadriel.
It's like so.
Galadriel.
She's drowning. He doesn't have time to pronounce everything correctly.
No, it was when she came back from the Southlands for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with Elrond. He then gets suspicious of Galadriel because she doesn't come out and fully say what the deal is. All she does is just after she gets the news, she runs back trying to, stop it, shut it down. Before she even gets to even try and do that, which she doesn't do. Which I thought she was going to be like, Ixnay on the abduction prey.
By the way, our friend Sauron, he was just here. Let's not invite him back.
Yeah. Why? But everything he was so helpful. Like, I don't understand.
Celebrimbor's like, I thought he was great.
I have his email address, and I will be asking him for tips on smithing.
He was great for me to bounce ideas off of.
We have a bro date next week.
Yeah.
Halbrand was like, totally cool. I'll just go ahead and smith these alloys myself. This one goes in this one.
I'll be careful. I know it's hot.
No, it would have been better if he was like, yeah, totally. Like, we won't invite him back, and we just cut to him, and he's like a wooden carven box with like a beautiful gold ring inside that just is like for Halbrand.
We were
fine.
They made him so bumbling that we were like minutes away from a scene like it was in Two Towers where he's doing with the fire, moving the gunpowder over to the fire, and Saruman's like, no thanks. What are you doing?
Well, doesn't Celebrimbor help Sauron forge the One Ring, or am I mistaken about that?
I think he forges that on his own.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, okay. I thought he helped.
Rings,
I thought he helped him. Okay.
Yeah. In the books, he takes the shape of something else and another name as an elf, and helps Celebrimbor forge.
He just keeps going back to Celebrimbor, like in like the glasses and nose and mustache disguise. Yeah. What if we did this next? You remind me so much of someone.
Is the great, amazing Celebrimbor here? Oh, it's you, good sir. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I help you at all?
And yeah, so Elrond is suspect about what's going on because Galadriel will not give him the full story. So he goes and he finds the scroll that's still laying by the river, which again, I would have thought that in Lindor or Earion, wherever they are, that they have a cleanup crew that's going around and just cleaning shit up. But no, it's just litter all over the place, apparently. So he finds this scroll, gets the news, runs back to find that the production is pretty much done. We got Rings of Power now. And it seems like he might have gone to stop it, but no one stops it. No one stops it. And Sauron
he gets swept
says
up
something,
in the ring.
Yeah. Sauron kind of says something like that. He's like, you don't have to lie to them. Just let it keep happening. Let it keep going. Let them keep being made.
Just let this whole thing play out.
Okay. She kind of does. She does say like, all right, we're going to do this, but it's just for us. Just for us elves, nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's what you think. Because there will soon be one ring to rule them all. And in the darkness bind them. Yeah, so then we go to Mordor, where Halbrand is checking out his new digs.
Where he simply walks into Mordor.
In a cloak? In a hooded cloak?
This show really hates
Geography.
endings to episodes. Like it really wants to just land on stinker notes the past couple of episodes.
It's a ending that is Two Towers reminding me of Two Towers.
Yeah.
Was it Two Towers? That ends with that kind of image?
Yeah.
It looks like an Evanescence album cover.
Yeah, that's unfair to Evanescence.
Wake me up.
Wake me up.
Wake me up inside.
Can't wake up.
Wake up.
Yeah. It looked so fucking corny. I couldn't get over it. Just like
I was good with it.
No, I
Is Earion that close to Mordor?
That's the other main thing within this entire season, but in this episode specifically, I had no idea how much time has passed at any point.
It seemed like it needed to have been months, but also I think we set up that the elves were going to die in like months. So, like,
yeah,
it would have already left by.
Gil-galad kept checking his watch.
And like, I get it. You don't want the audience to sit and watch people travel. It like kills the narration, it kills the pacing, but at the same time, like, that was a huge part of the last season of Game of Thrones' problem too, was the pacing, and people were just teleporting from here to there. It really takes you out of any sort of like building up any tension or allowing you to explore this world. It cuts it short.
Mm-hmm.
Use that text 1 month later, 2 months later, next year.
like
show Halbrand with like a beard, and then we'll be like, oh, it's been a while.
They just keep putting that text up where it says 1 month later and they scratch it out 2 months later.
Like, well, Galadriel, it's also like costumes. It's like Galadriel's wearing the same dress that she was like dream drowning in the whole time.
God, hold on though. That green dress was probably my favorite part of this entire episode.
It was really nice.
It was stunning.
It looked really nice on her. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
That was a really pretty dress.
#1 costume of the season.
It was very pretty.
All right, we are I'm sorry, did I interrupt you, Kelly?
I did.
No.
That sounds like a no, but a yes. Yeah, so we're going to begin to wrap this up with some winners and losers of the week. So we'll do the losers first. Kelly.
Galadriel, because she's kind of responsible for she's responsible for kind of everything that goes wrong.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the things that go wrong. And especially, I just can't imagine how she must be feeling knowing that she's been so heavily deceived and taken so many people with her in this deception. So pretty hard blow to the Galadriel.
Well, they were all of them deceived. Yeah. And I did like that moment where Sauron, after it's revealed that he's Sauron and they have that thing and she turns him down, the whole queen thing. And she says, well, how do you think they're going to feel when they find out that Sauron lives because of you?
Yeah.
He will die because of me. Yeah. I like that.
That sucks.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the reflection moment where they kind of show the reflection of them and you see him as Sauron. I thought that was cool.
That's when I was kind of like, just say yes. See where this is the Galadriel. We're saying yes to things more often. Like, let's just see where this goes.
Let's
Stacey,
yes and.
Who's your loser?
My loser of the week is the Queen Regent, whose name I still don't know because she
Miriel.
Miriel. Because even though she's like promising vengeance, I'm sorry, Matt. I took Matt's very clearly based on his face. I mean, her dad is dead. Her eyes are gone. Things are not going
Her
great.
pets' heads are falling off. Yeah. Matt, who is your loser?
I very quickly thought of a backup, so it's fine. My boy is Sadok. I'm sad that he's gone. That stinks. Yeah. He's the only casualty in that matchup. I guess from the Harfoots. Yeah. Felt like I'm all here for Poppy's great and everything, but she got like that woman like threw like 3 crescent moon daggers at her and somehow missed every time. It was like, are these people really powerful? Shouldn't they have just killed that kid? There was no reason to not kill that Harfoot kid. Anyway, I'm glad and all that said, glad Poppy's alive. Sad that Sadok's dead. Yeah, bummer.
Related to that, I don't have but one loser. I have the losers 3, and that is the Sauronettes. They had one job. They had one job: find, train Sauron, their Dark Lord. Clearly, they waited their entire lives for this.
Yeah,
for
who
this moment.
sent them? Were birthed into existence to find this power?
I don't think they were sent by anybody. What I think is that they are just holdovers from that time, and they've been waiting and looking at the signs, and they saw the comet, and they thought that was him, and followed it, and they fucked up.
Stacey, it's very simple.
And now they're back to the Shadowland.
They weren't sent by anybody. If you go back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer season episode.
Hey, tell me that's not a good explanation for what
I've never seen it, and now I feel like if this is like extra reading, I got to go watch Buffy to understand.
Yeah,
I think that's a great explanation, but I don't like to have to work that hard to make a show make sense.
No, you don't. But for our purposes here and for our listeners, they now have a fill in the gaps sort of, okay, that'll work for my brain.
Or good radiation. Good radiation.
Oh, that's the good vibration. That's not Beach Boys.
I'm picking up good radiations.
You're doing the Marky Mark.
Yeah, I was going
Marky
Mark, yeah.
And the Funky Bunch.
Okay.
No, I got you. Yeah.
For the youth, maybe just didn't listen to the
for the youths that are in their mid 40s. Matt, who is your? Did you give your loser?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you went. Those are own winners. Yeah. Winners, Matt.
Okay, winners, Celebrimbor for failing upwards. Way to go, my dude. You apparently didn't know shit. You got away with it for super long by being a hero to the elven people with your skills. Clearly your assistants were doing all the work. And your boy Sauron comes in, gives you the missing ingredient. Turns out it was just different metal. So good job, Celebrimbor.
Yeah, Celebrimbor would have been a great loser as well. Stacey.
I'm going to go Elrond. He really just doesn't lose. He can't miss. Everything he does is a victory. He gets a ring at the end. He saves Galadriel. He figures out who Sauron is. I think he's doing great, honestly.
Yeah. Kelly.
Sauron. He got caught eventually, but he did some damage and he made it home. He's got a lovely new loft. Yeah. He's got a very spacious one volcano. So yeah,
no
Sauron.
pyroclastic flow. Yeah, so it's looking good for him. There's definitely going to be some sort of confrontation with those two, Adar and
yeah,
Sauron.
Is that who he was referencing when he was like, I fought my enemy too? Adar is like,
seems like
a rival bad guy to him.
I'm so team Adar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to see more of Halbrand? Is he gonna look like that? He should look like something else.
I hope so.
I know Stacey's hoping for it.
That actor is incredible. I don't even know his name. I thought he did a fantastic job.
Is there?
Okay.
Just give me somebody else. If he's a shapeshifter, why is he gonna keep that shape? It makes no sense for him to keep that shape.
I'd keep
something else.
I'll tell you what I'd do with that shape.
We know. We get it. Get thirsty for Halbrand.
My winner is, you know him as the Stranger. We'll probably know him soon as Gandalf. He got his memories back. Some of his memories back. Doesn't have everything. He's not totally fully there at this point. Took out the cult. Took care of them, and they were pretty powerful for someone who's just kind of regaining their powers. So good on him there. Saved most of his buds. And has a companion for his road to Rune.
And he's good.
Yeah, Mike, more than anything, he is good.
He is
good. Yeah.
He's like Groot, except he says, I am good.
I am good. Yeah. I am good.
Yes. Just have him say nothing instead, Just-
Fine with it. All right.
What are the odds? Real quick. What is the Stacey, do some math real quick.
All right,
What
here we
is
go.
the
Catherine.
what is the percentage of the stranger not being Gandalf?
0.
But it's not solid.
Look at that. I did the math.
Stacey, all right, Stacey, there are people out there who are still not convinced that he's Gandalf.
Yeah,
Well, who is he? Gandalf's like dad? Like, or do wizards all say the same things?
People, I
would
feel
hate
like
that.
they're still thinking that they could be Radagast or a blue wizard.
A blue wizard, yes. Yes, there are those. There are those that dwell in the mountain. No, there are people
dwelling
that think,
behind their computers.
Yeah, that think that they are blue wizards because they are, I think, around that time, and they are not fully explored. And it would be a good opportunity to develop something new, which leads me to believe probably Gandalf. So
if it's not Gandalf, then this is kind of a waste of time.
Well, then just say it.
Agreed.
I don't want to do.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going to be guessing who everybody is this whole time. Yeah, if you tell me who someone is.
No more guessing about who characters really are.
And I said this like 10 episodes ago. I said if this whole show is us guessing who people are, then it's a weak show.
Oh, it's absolutely. It doesn't have
your own story. Don't make me invent them in my head.
Yeah, you mean the show that crossed out Southlands and put Mordor in it?
And then didn't write anything else?
Yeah.
You have the technology.
Yeah.
And give us more maps in season 2.
More maps.
So more maps. Yes. So that'll do it for the season finale, season 1, episode 8, Alloyed of the Rings of Power. We're going to take a little bit of time off, a couple weeks off, maybe a little bit more, maybe a year. We got plenty of time. No, we'll be back in a few weeks, and we'll have a wrap-up episode on season 1. Then we'll release our awards episode for the 2 Towers finally. And then sometime after that, we'll get started on the Return of the King. We have 2 years until a new episode of this show. So there's going to be sporadic content. So make sure that, you smash that subscribe button, whatever you need to do to follow us and keep track of when we're releasing episodes, because it will now be very inconsistent.
We're just all going to read the Silmarillion and check in like a book club every month, once a month.
Yeah. I want to do special episodes, like talk about what spinoffs people would have of this, sitcoms, whatever it might be. Have character focused episodes where we talk about different moments from the film franchise, fan fiction, all of that crazy shit. Do those episodes where we're talking about just the merch. It is a gift.
It's going to take us a year to get through Return of the King, right? So, like with all our episodes. So there really won't be that much downtime.
Yeah. We'll have a few months left. All right. So thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Matt, for completing this fellowship as we went through this season. I enjoyed the ride, and I'm looking forward to the final episode of this season in the time to come. And thank you all for listening. You can still go to iTunes and rate and review the podcast, and we'll start that contest over again. Bye-bye.